All right, good evening, everyone. I am super happy to have each and every one of you here with us for our webinar series, Voices of Change. This is a really exciting webinar that we have started up in Raising Strong. It's our new series, really meant to inspire and provide a platform that showcases the incredible stories of our alumni who have been driving meaningful change in their communities. And so, with this series, it's more of like a collection of stories, right? Some of you all may remember that we had a podcast back in the day, but we've kind of reframed this into a webinar series to really focus and celebrate on the resiliency and the leadership and the impact of Nurse Family Partnership and Child First family members who have really journeyed through the programs alongside, NFP and Child First, and are now in Raising Strong, continuing to be leaders in their community. And so I'm really excited that you all are here. And this is a good place and a good platform. You may be wondering, why am I here? Should I be here? Yes, you are in the right place. I hope that you all leave this webinar just feeling really inspired about the powerful stories of transformation and advocacy. I hope you leave this webinar learning about and discovering the insights of the things that you do, whether you're a Raising Strong member or you're an NFP nurse or a Child First clinician, just how you've made a difference in your community. And obviously, just an opportunity to connect with passionate individuals who are passionate about advancing health equity and family successes. And I'm super happy to have our second speaker, Vonda Stevens, who is also a parent ambassador for the National Service Office. So I will give her a chance to just introduce herself, and then we'll go through some questions. And after our questions, we will definitely open it up for a Q&A. Vonda, you down for a Q&A? I didn't even ask. Okay. Yeah, you're good. You're good. Okay, perfect. All right, awesome. Hi, Cheryl. Welcome. Good evening from PA. And just also real quick, we are recording. And so I love reactions and chat. So feel free to hit us up that way until we get to our Q&A. All right, Bonton. So let's take a little bit of time and just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi everybody. My name is Vonda Stevens, and I currently serve as a parent ambassador for the National Service Office. And that's like the umbrella organization over Nurse Family Partnership and Child First. I am essentially how I got here was because I was just like you all. I was a mom, and I had my nurse with my first child. So I have two kids. Jaden is 5, and he is the light of my life, as well as his brother, who is also the other light of my life. I got lots of lights, you know.
Right, right.
Um, and,
Blowing.
and so I went through the Nurse Family Partnership program with Jaden, and I did Child's First with Jaden as well, and now I'm in Child's First with Judah. But I'm in High Point, North Carolina. I am my because I have lots of jobs, is I'm a job coach for adults with autism. And more on that later of like how that affected my story, which was really, really cool of how that ended up being my job as well. But now I just help the office with like avocation and speaking at events and things like that. And that's kind of it. Did I answer your question? I don't know.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So what do you like to do in your downtime, real quick, though? What are your hobbies?
Yeah, so it's really funny you say that because I just got a new hobby and we're gonna see how long it lasts. Because I
Okay.
got so you buy all the things and it's like, okay, I want to see how long I'm gonna stick with it, you know.
Yeah.
Um, it's funny because one of my friends, so she's into trail rides. So I don't know if anybody knows what that is, but it's like line dancing. And I'm like, this is so fun. So we've had a couple of like little practices and stuff. So we're gonna go to our first little trail ride event. And I'm really excited about that. So dancing is something that I've loved and always have loved. And it's cool to kind of get back to doing that in a way. I'm
Oh,
excited.
I love that. So have you learned the new craze, boots on the ground?
Yes, I have.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, I only know 5. We've had like one practice, but like we're adding them, and I'm like, okay, but like TikTok says there's a new one that comes out every day, so I'm like,
Um,
I'm
no.
gonna try to get as many as I can. Okay, because where the fans at? Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, Markelly, you know. All right, awesome. I love that. Great. Well, thank you so much for the introduction, Vonda. And I kind of forgot to introduce myself. I'm Ashley Watson. I'm the volunteer engagement manager here at the National Service Office. I'm also an NFP graduate, graduated the program in 2014. So my one and only NFP baby is 12 years old in seventh grade. She's probably going to be walking to the door here in a minute from school. And I oversee Raising Strong, which is our national alumni group for NFP and Child First. I also oversee the Parent Ambassador Program, who is Vonda and her cohort is happening, is currently in session this past 2 years. And then I also help with consultation for community advisory boards. So, all right, great. So let's get into this, Vonda. I would love for everyone just to hear kind of just sharing your journey with Nurse Family Partnership. You know, how did you hear about the NFP program? Where were you at in your life? And how did NFP impact you and your family?
Yeah, so when I got pregnant with my first child, I was in the middle or just about the middle of my master's program. So they had told us that like when we graduated undergrad was like, oh, if you want to like, delay adult responsibility, go to grad school. And we're like, absolutely. Because who like really wants to be an adult in the real world, you know? Um, and of course, like my school had just this really great program that tied an assistantship. So you had like a job where you like got real world experience and got paid for it, but it like also had a tuition waiver like attached to it. And then I had a really, really cool job that my job also included a place to stay. So I ran a building for a school. So that was my place to live, my job, how I was paying my bills at the time, and my school tuition, like we're all tied into one pretty package. So, a dream come true for someone who doesn't want to pay bills and like have to worry about the things.
Mhm.
But when I found out I was pregnant with Jaden, I went to tell my boss, and she was not the bestest boss, like supportive wise, and she was like she was really honestly verbally abusive, which like I didn't really know that that was a thing that could happen in a workplace like until that experience. And when I told her, she was just like, "Oh, well, technically, I don't have to give you full rights as an employee because you're not a full employee of the school, and you only have to. I only have to give you 2 weeks of maternity leave, so you should be fine to come back to work, right?"
Wow.
Um, and I didn't know a whole lot, but I knew that wasn't gonna be it,
Mhm.
for sure. And so I just knew that I was going to need as many resources as possible. And that was what landed me in the WIC office. So I went to the WIC office and I'm getting benefits and signed up for everything. And there was a little card in there that was talking about just, do you want a nurse to come and visit you for 2 years? And I'm like, absolutely. I don't know what I'm doing. That sounds amazing.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
yes, sign me up for all the things, whatever else y'all got in here. I want three of those.
Right.
Pretty much. Um, and so that's essentially how I found out about NFP. Um, and luckily, like at the time, there just like wasn't a waiting list and stuff, so I was able to just like get in and see my nurse pretty fairly quickly. Um, and I just like had no idea what I was going to do because I was just like, how am I going to support myself? How am I going to do anything? And like the first thing I'll never forget, like the first thing that my nurse did was just make me feel like it was going to be okay. She was just like, well, I just want
Mhm.
you to and just literally just breathe. He's like, you, because I talk this fast all the time, people. Like, please let me know if you need to slow down. But like, especially when I'm nervous, like I talk like even faster. And she was just like, let's just take a deep breath and like let's just relax like into the moment. Like it's gonna be okay. Like I want you to like feel as safe as possible, like here. And that meant so much to me because like it was just literally the exact opposite reaction of when I told my boss. you know,
Mhm.
as like this other
Right.
person was supposed to be like a supportive kind of person. Um, it wasn't. So I really, really I'll never forget how she made me feel. Um just throughout that entire process. And she helped me just like feel like I was going to be okay, essentially. She's like, we'll figure out. She's like, I think that we can figure it out for like school, that we can figure it out for a job, that we can figure it out for a place to live, all the things. And because with just like that, by pulling that one string, it was like everything kind of fell apart. But she did such a great job with that. Um,
Oh, that's beautiful.
yeah.
So, so let's talk a little bit about like what are two or three things that she really helped you navigate in life, especially through like early pregnancy through like early parenting.
Yeah, I would definitely say, um, so I had already had like mental health illnesses and things, and like had been seeing a counselor and stuff. So I was trying to figure out how to navigate that, like with pregnancy, of like, okay, now there is an occupant like inside my body too. Like
Yeah.
I'm already having to deal with like the me inside my body, but like now there's another.
Hmm.
And so the way that that we were able to work through that, she was able to get me in touch with another counselor. So I was able to like have more counseling sessions with them. And like because of that, I was able to like go off of my antidepressant while I was pregnant, because it was another thing that I was like really worried about, was like, oh, I don't think I want to be on this antidepressant while like having this occupant. And I call him an occupant like I'm a spaceship or something.
Okay.
But I guess that's what we are. But
Yeah.
um, but yeah, so she like really helped me with like my mental health, and figuring all that out, resources, and I'll oh my other thing, my he grew so quickly. So like my little bucket like car seat that I got from our baby shower was just immediately not going to work out. I've had him in there, his feet dangling off the side of it for as long as I could. And I was like, my baby little ankles and his feet all curled up in here. He needed a better car seat. And she was like, oh, we have a car seat event. Like I was actually coming to tell you about that. And so like I literally y'all know the nice like convertible like big like the Cadillac of car seat.
Yeah. Those 3-in-1 type things. Hmm.
Exactly. That was what I was able to get through the program.
Oh, wow.
Um, so I mean, that's definitely one. So like my mental health, the car seat, because like I was so worried, just like driving wise and stuff. And I'm just like I wanted to be as safe as possible. And of
Mhm.
course like, they had people out there like helping us install them and stuff. So it was really, really great. Because
Yeah.
it's always just like they're like, well, part of the operating thing of a car seat is like installation. So I'm like, I was just anxiety wise. I was like, I'm so worried about this. Um, and then just like the different changes in life. So like we moved at a time, we were living with my mom at one point, and then like we moved to our place, and it was just like a whole thing. Um so him just transitioning and things were just kind of hard, and like different things I was worried about. He also my son like wasn't potty trained until he was like 3 weeks before his third birthday. And I know the program only goes till they're 2 years old, but
Right.
she still would like text me like every couple of months and was like,
Oh.
hey, how's it going? Like potty training wise. It's potty training yet. She's like, don't give up, like don't feel discouraged. Cause y'all, that was like so much anxiety. Cause it was just like he's never gonna be in the body.
Yes, when you're in it, it feels so long. Oh, it feels so long when you're in it. Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
thank you so much for sharing that and how your nurse really helped support and navigate those things that you were going through. Let's transition a little bit into if you can remember or think about, was there a pivotal moment in your journey that helped kind of fuel this passion for advocacy and community work? Because I can't wait to get into the nitty gritty of all the things that you do. But what do you think kind of stirred that moment for you?
I I don't know if I have a specific moment. I was thinking about this question before.
Yeah,
I don't know if there's a specific like moment that like switched, like that it kind
yeah.
of for me.
Okay,
Um, I want to say actually it was probably right around graduation. I
okay.
remember hearing like at our graduation, a parent ambassador at the time gave a speech, and I just remember thinking, I think I would want to do that. Like, I think I would love to like connect other moms to like this program, and like I think that I could, share my story with others and like be vulnerable,
Mhm.
um, those things. And like if like in the way that she has inspired me, I think that I would be able to inspire others. And even if it's just one person, like that would be enough.
Wow.
Um,
So at the NFP graduation, you heard a previous parent ambassador share their story, and that was kind of like, I can see myself doing that.
yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't even know that, Vonda. That's awesome. That's awesome. So, nurses, if you're on, just kind of remember that, when you have graduates and former alumni come and speak, you never know who that touches in the clients, to come and kind of transition into that. So, awesome. So now let's talk about your role as a parent ambassador. You have now been a parent ambassador for a year and a half. And it's going by so fast, y'all. It's one of those things like what, like really? And so do you want to share a little bit about some of the advocacy work you've been doing? Like maybe your training in Denver and then some events that you've done and what your current work is, and maybe even about your trip in DC.
Yeah, so our training in Denver, so they did not send us out blind and just like, hey, go talk to some people about some stuff.
Yeah,
It was this really like intensive process. Not intensive. I don't know if intensive is the right word, but like um
extensive, maybe.
extensive. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
intricate. Yes. It
Yeah.
was detailed.
Hmm.
Um, and training was just really, really great. I got to know some of my best friends now.
Yeah.
And it's really, really insane that like we are from literally all over the country and we're all just like we're already like planning like little reunions. We're like, okay, so like I know that technically our time will be up, but like when are we gonna get together and like be
Let's
together?
link up.
Yeah, and because we're just kind of from all over. So training was just so great. We were really able to like just capture how to tell our stories in an effective way. Um, and just really like work on how to use it effectively, if that makes sense. Because like a story is a story, but also like there's different things that can be tweaked that can make a story something even more impactful. And I think that that's something that the Parent Ambassador program has really taught me, is just how I can carry myself to be more impactful, even by just changing little things. As well as I was able to speak at a Kendra Scott. Yes, I think that's the name of the jewelry store. So we had a fundraiser there, and I was able to be there just to have like a tiny little 5 minute or 2 minute conversation with people, because proceeds from purchases that day were going to our program. And I really got to connect with some people that was really, really cool, to just kind of share and talk with different people. They're like, oh, I'm a mom too. And like that would have been so cool for me. And I'd love to share this program with my friend. She just got pregnant. So I'd love to share that with her. And so we were able to like share those things. So that was really, really amazing. As well as going and speaking in DC. So recently we went to it's called a fly-in. So we were able to we had a couple of appointments, and I say a couple as if it wasn't like 40 something. I think it's like 40, 50 something. But we talked to as many representatives as we possibly could, congressmen and women, and their offices have representatives that hold their meetings and things that meet with constituents from each of their states and things, to talk about the impact that different things that are up for not up for debate. What is the word? That
Like
it's like
for budget.
your budget and like how things that they're voting on currently and how the vote would come out and how that would affect people that live in their states, but also just like because our program's national. So we were able to speak with a lot of different people. And I really feel like my favorite moment was really seeing a light bulb go on for one of them. And she was just like, I didn't know that like programs like this existed, that could essentially like in an early intervention way of like help families so that then they don't have to like rely on resources and things like that later, or just like or needlessly, right, to be able to like help people to get to better places and have better access to things so that they won't have to like rely on different things of like government wise assistance.
Yeah.
And it was just really, really cool because it was one of those things that it's like, you know, just because it might seem, our program might seem like it might be that we get our funding from one side or something like that. We are a bipartisan program. And so understanding that like we're across the aisle. Like we do
Yeah.
actually have people that support us on both sides. I know that a lot of the things in the country right now are really divisive, and I was like really scared, honestly. But we had a leadership summit that, we went over everything before we, again, like we were prepared absolutely as best as we possibly could be, for speaking to people and, for anybody that we're going to run into and everything on the day of, on Hill Day. And it was just a really, really great experience.
Yeah, and that was in Washington, D.C. I don't know if y'all realize that. So yeah, Washington, D.C. It's just really been amazing to see you all come out of your comfort zone and share your story. It's one thing to, come on the webinars and not to minimize anything, that everyone does, like experiences like locally, but for you all to be bold and brave to fly into Washington, D.C. and meet with these legislators about the importance of, Medicaid and public funding, like the maternal, infant, and early childhood and home visiting funding. Like you all really did that. They went to 42 meetings altogether collectively, all of the parent ambassadors alongside our executive leadership team, as well as our board of directors. And it was a good moment for them to share that. And we would love to, in the future, of course, invite more Raising Strong members, more nurses and clinicians to come and do this advocacy work because it's just so, so, so important. Like Vonda shared, how people's lights just come on. They don't get to hear this stuff. They just push your papers, right? Pushing paper and stuff up there. But when you have a constituent come, it's just a whole different feeling. So that's amazing. So Vonda, so just so everyone knows, Vonda is actually our first parent ambassador who has been a part of both programs. She's been a part of Nurse Family Partnership and Child First. So before we dive a little bit into like your community impact work, because I think it all kind of comes in the middle of this, do you want to share how you got connected to Child First and how that program has supported you and the boys?
Yeah, so interestingly enough, at the like literally around the same time, my doctor's office had recommended us to Child First, as well as like me finding out that I was picked as a parent ambassador. And so I honestly didn't know that like Child First existed basically. And so I was like, oh, I'm gonna be a parent ambassador for Nurse Family Partnership. And they're like, yes, and also this other program that we have is Child First. And I was like, oh, that. And it was so interesting because our doctor had said the same thing. She's like, I really think that, you and Jane might benefit from this. And so Child First being child parent psychotherapy, um, mostly focusing on like whether there's been like trauma um, and or anything like that would strain the parent child relationship, but to help like build that, but also for people who just need like parent training, if that makes sense, of like, because like I'm sure we all, had that kid and was like, oh, I wish this came with a manual. That would have been wonderful. So your girl is tired.
Mhm.
Um, and so the things that I learned in Child First, I really think can be shared universal. It's especially helpful for the transitions and things that my child was able to, that my child has gone, that me and my child has gone through, but also can be applied to like a lot of other things. My second child was born with severe special needs, and so because of like his medical needs and things like that, we were back and forth to the hospital a lot. I didn't spend as much time with my first child, and things kind of like slipped through the cracks, but I didn't really know that he was showing signs of autism. And so because the way the Child's First program works is there's a assessments that are done to see like where your child is developmentally and make sure that they don't need any like therapeutic resources or anything like that outside of it, because you also have a clinician who is a mental health worker and a resource specialist. And because of that, they were able to help me get my son diagnosed and get him into therapies and things that are helping him. And he's thriving and doing so great. Uh, he's pretty high functioning on the autism spectrum, but still, benefiting from the things that we were able to get in contact with because of the program.
That is amazing. Isn't that wonderful, y'all, how Vonda's been able to experience both and just help get that support? And we I know most nurses and clinicians are like, y'all are doing the work, y'all are doing the work. I mean, but they really like are so in tune with what we need and sometimes things that we don't even know that we need. And just those connections are just really priceless. So awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. So let's dig now into like the impact that you've had on your community and kind of the leadership roles that you've been taking. So I know you do a lot of like mentorship, even on your own job. And I know you do things at your church as well as parent ambassadors and supporting Child First expansion. So let's talk a little bit about your job, right? And as a job coach for individuals with special needs, how do you see your experiences as a parent and the way that you advocate kind of shape how you support others?
So it's interesting because I've kind of always been an advocate. It was even as a child. Um,
Mm,
I had a friend, growing up, my best friend, she's spina bifida. And even though she's 7 years older than me, like, like she would be my big sister.
yeah.
I was like, I decided that I would be her protector. And so like growing up, she had a latex allergy. And so like she couldn't be around like balloons. And so like, sometimes like church games had like balloons and stuff like that. And I remember this one instance where like there was like a game with balloons and like this boy was like playing and he's like, I'm gonna touch you, I'm gonna touch you. And I like stared him down and was like about like me and my little 8-year-old body was ready to take this like 12-year-old down. Like I don't know how I was gonna do it, but your girl was
Yeah.
ready.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm like, you will not is what you won't do. And I was able to like get an adult of like, hey, he's being mean, type thing. But even like in that of like, well, we need to figure out how she can participate in the game because that's not fair. Everybody else got to participate, but she can't, you
Yeah.
know. And so even from like being a kid, like I knew that like I wanted it to be fair. Like I wanted everybody to be able to participate. Like I don't think that I don't think that that's a reason that someone wouldn't be able to have fun too. Um, and so like that's kind of carried like walked with me like my entire life. So like my undergraduate degree was in therapeutic recreation.
Okay.
So I learned a lot about avocation in that field as well because it's working with people with special needs. And a lot of people think that therapeutic rec is like play therapy and that we just play all day. But essentially it's literally it's we call ourselves adaptability like specialists. Is like how exactly can I change the environment to better help this person for them to experience equal or at least the same amount of fun that everybody else is um in a setting. And so like having that experience has really helped shape who I am as a person of like also just like knowing that like well I can use like my privilege or the things that I have to be able to help to bring somebody else up that might not have it. Um as well as just like trying to work towards like doing more for people, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
My job now as a job coach, I have to do a lot of like helping people understand, of like translating almost of like, oh, this is the need that your company has, and this is a need that you know. Um, but with them being able to like feel that, it's like, we may need like slight accommodations, but it's not anything that's going to take away from the quality of the work. If anything, like they're going to be the most dependable employee that you have. It's they're going to be able to do these things. It's just maybe done a different way, and honestly, it might even turn out better. So I've done a lot of because of how everything has worked together between like each of my like steps and each of my degrees and things. And now I'm like also going on a new venture of being a doula, and I specialize in helping like Black moms. Um, but of course, I serve like all moms. But the Black maternal health is super important, and the Black maternal mortality rate is
Right.
extremely. So that's like one of my goals is to help like lower that because if we can educate and like help moms understand like what they're going through, and like helping medical professionals to understand how they can help as well, that's one more person that is not a statistic.
Yeah. That's beautiful. That's awesome. I loved how your journey has kind of shaped how you support others along the way. Do you want to share a little bit more about like other things you do in the community? I know you like do mentors, and I remember you telling me one time like your church calls you like the resource queen or something like that. So you want to share other ways that you give back to your community?
Yeah, so if it's free, it's for me, okay? And I'm gonna make sure that the free things is for everybody. And so I just try to do my best of just like in my everyday like life, just like even with my job or anything else, like I try to just like learn about as much as I can resource wise to like help people. And like moms or anybody, but mostly moms. And
Yeah.
so I get a lot of like stops in the hallways at church and stuff. Or like even in my kids at my kids' school, they're like, "Hey, I know that you might be able to help me with this.
Mhm.
Do you know anybody, or can you connect me with someone, to help with this or that?" And I've been able to do that. So that's been really, really cool. I also work with, as a special needs mom, I work with a Family Support Network. So they have virtual and in person support groups for parents of children with special needs and different things like that. So I helped put on one of those groups for a rare diagnosis. So because my younger son has a rare diagnosis, it's other moms that are experiencing the same things or around the same things. So just like, we have a lot more doctor's visits. There's a couple of other things or hospitalizations are a little bit more normal for us as opposed to people with typical kids or even just like a different special needs. It's a little bit more specialized. And so I hold that meeting once a month. I help with the mentorships with my church with different things, and then like I'm in a mom's group at church as well. Um, and honestly, oh, and then I'm of course because I didn't have enough things to do. I'm the PTA president at my kids' school.
Power to you. Power to you.
Yeah,
That's
we're just Head Start. I will not be doing this when we go to school. You won't catch me. It won't be me.
PTA is a whole nother beast.
Uh-uh. We're Head Start. It's a small, it's so they're
Awesome.
little. So we're just
Yeah.
like educational, that's it. Type thing. So I plan our parent meetings that we have every month. So I'm able to connect people with resources and with people in our community as well as small business owners to come in and do presentations and things to get the word out. Because I'm like, well, if I got the time, I might as well be able to use it to connect people to things they might need. Um, so
That's awesome. And share a little bit too about your doula training and kind of like what you're doing there. And weren't you interested in doing like the circle of security too or
Yes,
something like
yeah,
that?
yeah. So I went through Circle Security, I received the Circle of Security parent training. And so that is such a great program. So Child First was able to help. It's like a lot of different diagrams that really just helps you like shape your view of like or change your perspective of how you view parenting. Because I know we've all been in that place where it's like this child hates me. That
Mhm.
is insane that you came out of me and you really want to act like that is so crazy.
Right.
So the way that like circle of security helps you understand is that like we have to create that circle and that our children act out or act in different ways because they're essentially just trying to communicate with us. And that's the only way that they have figured out that they can communicate is that, at least they're getting attention. It might be bad attention, but they feel like that it's at least attention.
Yeah,
And so by giving them more positive attention and by helping them understand that like we are their safety net and that they can come to us,
that's
that
good.
it solves and like helps cut down on those things. And even with both of my kids having autism and having those communication differences, they're both really receptive to like the tactics and things that I've learned, and that I'm able to like walk through with them. And essentially like the way that, and then I'll be able to do the circle security training, so that I'll be able to train others.
Yeah,
So I'm really excited about that.
yeah,
And with my doula training, which also I would not have been able to be afforded this opportunity without the parent ambassador program,
yeah.
because one of the other parent ambassadors was the one who was able to connect me with the program. So I got a scholarship, and I'm in a program that I'm able to work with one of the top Black midwives in the Chapel Hill area, which is like a more well-known area of North Carolina. But she is a doula too and has done the doula trainings and things. So she's like all taking us all under her wing and we're a part of her program. And so she's like helping all of us get like our full certification so that we can make money. And so that we can help other Black moms and things. And so by removing the barriers that most people normally have,
Yeah,
because of registration fees, like insurance, things like that, because she's like taking each of those things out. She's like, I'll be able to help you do it. Um, I'm now able to be like in my new field. And I like in my head, I was like, yeah, I'll be able to do that in about 2 years. Like I'll have it saved up and be able to do that. And like now I'm just like in it. And so I'm like I have about like one or two births a month, because that's about what it is to be part-time, because I still have my big girl job. But eventually I'll be able to just be a doula and that'd be my full-time job. So that's super exciting, and I'm really excited about that too.
Oh, Vonda. Oh, this is just so awesome. I know y'all, these reactions, go ahead and give them to us because I am just so proud of Vonda and the things that she's doing. Like, despite even her big girl job and parenting two boys, y'all know that's not easy, right? Two boys, and still tending to their special needs, but still taking the time to advocate for other people. I think it's just, we're a gem. You're such a gem to have in this program, Vonda. So thank you so much. So now let's kind of like turn the corner and talk a little bit about looking forward. You know, like thinking critically. I mean, thinking about nurses, if a nurse supervisor or an administrator is on here, or a community leader, like what changes or improvements would you personally like to see in the way that communities and organizations like support parents and families? What are some things that you would like to see get better?
Can you say the question again? Sorry.
Yeah, so what are some improvements that you would like to see in the way that communities or organizations support parents and families?
Okay. Okay.
Sure.
Um, I see people in the chat.
Yes.
Um, but I think that one of the things that I've seen that more and more people need is just support with like it's funny she mentioned that with transportation.
Yeah.
Um, I there's a couple of parents that go to our Head Start that ride the bus. They bring their kids like on the city bus, and like you have to go on that schedule and stuff to get them there every day. Um, and I think that transportation would be something that could be super helpful, of getting to appointments, to be able to get to like to get the appropriate care.
Yeah.
I know that like infrastructure wise, there's not a whole lot that we would be able to do about insurance and things, because that's another reason that people don't seek the care that they should have, for medical needs.
Insurance is such a big monster. Oh, that's a whole thing.
It really is. Like I had to mention it, but like I know that it's like
Yeah.
it's not a thing that I can go take on by myself, you know?
Yeah, but if
Um,
it's something you would like to see, though, you know, I mean, and that's honestly essentially like what we were doing in DC, right? Fighting for Medicaid. Like, hey,
right,
like, y'all can't cut this. We're gonna have a whole nother horse of problems if this is something you
right.
don't do. But yeah, I was with one of my friends this past weekend, and she doesn't have access to health care. And you know, we were talking about like life insurance and stuff, and she was like, well, I don't even know what my levels are. I don't know my A1C or blood pressure, you know, and I'm just man, it's like it's not as accessible as people think.
It's
But
really, really not. And it's actually quite sad because they were like, "Oh, well, what do you mean? Like you don't know?" And it's like, well, I haven't been to the doctor in 4 years. 4 years? Well,
yeah,
shouldn't you know every,
yeah, yeah,
And it's just like, oh, well, it was fine, until it wasn't, until it's absolutely excruciating. So like you're in, that kind of pain or something. Um,
right.
so I think that like even like free clinics or something like that to get a blood pressure check, to get, just even just having something of like to service people that might not be able to
Mhm.
have access to that. I think that like those community events would be like doing more of that would definitely be super helpful to help like cut down on those things and like helping people,
Yeah.
because like insurance being such a big roadblock, um
Mhm.
those
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. So, so so we heard from what's next for you. Let's kind of wrap this up and maybe we can open it up for some questions. If anyone wants to ask Vonda any questions or kind of dialogue about anything, a part of her story. So if you could leave everyone with like one key takeaway from your story, what would it be?
Don't give up. I have felt like I was in a corner and that I didn't have any other options numerous times in my life. And each and every time, God made a way. Um, and to just not give up. That's the synopsis of my life and my story.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Do not give up. You've heard it from Vonda. She said it loud and proud. Do not give up. Whether you're a nurse or a supervisor, or a clinician or raising strong mom, definitely just hang in there. I remember one of I think it was my nurse, I'm pretty sure it was my NFP nurse who told me, she says hard times are like clouds. They're there, but then they pass on.
Yeah.
And so I always think about that the clouds and the thunderstorms and the rain, they're not always there every single day. At some point there is sunshine on the other side of the storm. So I always keep that in mind too.